सो गाइस देखो लास्ट सेशन में वी डन a lab that is based on URL filtering, application control and all. सो आज हमें देखना है कि जो इनक्रिप्टेड ट्रैफिक होता है हम उसको कैसे डिक्रिप्ट कर सकते हैं, उसके साथ साथ ऐप आईडी का कॉन्सेप्ट मींस पैलो अल्टो के अंदर आपका ऐप आईडी कैसे वर्क करता है, दैट वी हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड एज वेल. SSL inspection and certificate का concept क्या है, that we have to understand. So let's say we have Palo Alto 9 आपके पास है and you are trying to encrypt and decrypt your data traffic. जो भी आपका डेटा ट्रैफिक है उसको आप इनक्रिप्ट और डिक्रिप्ट करना चाहते हो, तो क्या प्रोसेस होगा. So let's say this is my trunk port and the user is part of VLAN 10 and this user is part of, let's say, VLAN 20, and LAN trust VLAN 10 LAN trust VLAN 20. That's the name of zone, let's say. And one by one is my WAN link. So this is your topology. So we have to start the setup first. Means we have to just go through with the topology and we have to configure it. Then we'll do start the concept of SSL traffic encryption and decryption. So guys, today we have to focus on SSL traffic encryption decryption process. As well, we also discuss about the application ID and its flow, like how exactly it do work. So here, if we do talk about our topology, so we have one WAN link or WAN zone, and we have our LAN infrastructure having two VLANs, VLAN 10, 20. So if any traffic which is going from LAN to WAN, if it is encrypted traffic, encrypted traffic means if you are sending any traffic which is having SSL or SSH, so such traffic your firewall cannot do understand. Means firewall does not have any idea like what's inside going on, what kind of payload you are trying to send, because it is all encrypted. So encrypted traffic we can't, encrypted traffic we cannot here check. So in order to check our traffic, we just have to perform SSL decryption. So in order to perform SSL decryption, we have to use certificate concept. So before starting this SSL, first we have to understand the concern of SSL, like why we do use. So SSL decryption we can perform in two ways. First is your outbound SSL decryption, and another is inbound. Outbound means the traffic which is going from LAN to WAN. So we want to inspect it on firewall. So we have to perform outbound SSL inspection. Inbound means anything which is coming from outside and we want to try to inspect on our firewall. So here we are just trying to understand the SSL outbound traffic. First, we have to understand the SSL negotiation process, like how exactly it happens between client and server. Let's say you are trying to access Facebook, which is based on HTTPS, or you can say it uses SSL negotiation. So in order to understand SSL, we have to understand the exact process of SSL negotiation. So whenever you do try to access any website or any portal which is having HTTPS, it always look like this: www.https://www. Let's say you are trying to access Facebook or any website you are trying to access. So first is like you do perform three-way handshake. SSL negotiation start with the like three-way. First, you have to perform three-way handshake, means since in ACK. After then, your machine will send hello client. After then, you do start SSL negotiation and you do send hello client. Hello client is nothing, it's just a packet which basically having all supported cipher suits, means all supported encryption methods which your browser supports, along with SSL version, like the version which is running on client end, it basically sent by this machine in hello client. So in hello client we do send all supported cipher suits, means which supported by your browser along with SSL version. So in response to this, see, for SSL negotiation, the key pair public private key basically we have on servers. So public key, private key, PR private key, PB public key. So these two keys for encryption server will always do keep at their end. So when we do send hello clients, in response to this hello client, it do send hello server. Hello server. Hello server does consist two things. Supported algorithm, like your machine is supporting a triple dash algorithm, let's say, or AES along with SHA-1, which is for hash. As well, it do send your as well it also send public key or public certificate to client here. So this is your second packet. After three-way handshake, you do start SSL process. So SSL negotiation start. So client machine send hello client send like all supported cipher suits, means what all the possible encryption and hash method does support by your browser, it do send by this machine in this, as well SSL version also. In response to this, your server will send one packet which we call server hello, and server hello does consist algorithm, supported algorithm which is running on server along with public key. This is the process till key exchange. Like we do exchange the key, we always do exchange the public key over network, public keys for all. When client receive the public key, so with the help of this public key, it generate one pre-master key. And this pre-master key again encrypted with public key. See guys, in cryptography we have two kind of algorithm. One is symmetric and next is asymmetric. Symmetric means if we are using same key for encryption as well decryption, so we called it symmetric. Asymmetric encryption allow to use different keys, or it allow to use public key infrastructure. Like we are using one key for encryption and next key for decryption. Let's say if I do encrypt my data with my private key, so I can only do decrypt that data with my public key. So such algorithm we called asymmetric. So here we also use same kind of concept. So here this public key we use is, and we create a pre-master key with the help of this public key, and again I just do encrypt my key with this public key and send it back to server. Now server have pre-master key. How server open this pre-master key? Because we encrypted this pre-master key with public key, and it is having this private key. So with the help of private key, just decrypt the data and get it pre-master key. So this pre-master key exchange is very important. If someone just get your pre-master key, so it can also do interrupt your data traffic or session in between transition. So whenever we do exchange our data traffic, we always do keep it secure. In order to secure, we always do encrypt with public key. So only server knows about the private key, so it can only do decrypt that particular data. After then, both devices have a pre-master key. With the help of pre-master key, client as well server both generate session key. Session key and session key. Because both having the same key material, like they are using the same pre-master key, so the outcome of this session key is same. Same means we can say the outcome of the key is symmetric. Like now the output we get, that is symmetric. Here the same session key we get here. Now if client try to send any data, let's say this is the data of client, it do apply which key? Session key, and send it to server. Server also having the same session key, so it can decrypt the data. Once they do create the session key, after then each data will encrypted and decrypted by this session key. So this is the SSL negotiation process. If you done negotiation between client and server, so any device which is having in between, it cannot understand what data is going on. All right, guys, means this device cannot do understand what exactly going inside. So in order to understand, in order to make it visible to this firewall, we have to perform decryption process. If we do perform decryption, or if we do interrupt, or if we do intercept the data traffic which is going, then only the firewall can understand like what data is going on. So everyone does understand SSL negotiation. Everyone does understand like what I'm trying to explain here. Anyone have any concern, you can ask. Till I have just explained about the SSL negotiation, nothing. If you understand this, so we can do start the outbound SSL decryption process. Like how you, when you do access HTTPS website, so how your data gets secured, like how information encrypted over internet, that I'm trying to explain. Like when I do access Facebook, see the log showing here, it is HTTPS based encryption, and you can check the certificate information, Facebook issued by DigiCert, details you can check here. Anyone have any question, anything? Guys, at least speak so I can understand.
No, sir.
Understand? Let me just show you graphically a graphical view, so it's become easy to understand rest thing also, those who are not getting exactly. So I'm going to do visualize this, so it makes a good sense. See, we have SSL, the whole SSL process I'm going to explain again. See how you do understand the website is doing SSL handshake, or those who don't know, let me explain again. The basic difference between HTTP and HTTPS is like HTTP, if I'm just using HTTP, so it means whatever the data I'm exchanging between server and client, it is all in plain text. It is not encrypted at all. If I'm trying to send data between client and server and I'm using HTTPS, so it means whatever data I'm trying to send between client and server, it is all encrypted. It is all in ciphertext. No one can understand what I'm trying to send in between. So see the sign, if you're getting this symbol lock and it is showing this HTTPS, so it means your website is HTTPS. See, this is SSL handshake process. So I already told you that we have two keys and both key belongs to server initially. So when client request hello client, the first packet client request. So in response to this, server sent server hello along with public key. So now client have public key. You can see here, client have public key. Initially, it does not have when it do initiate hello client. So in response to this, server will send server public key as well supported algorithm. And now see, client will generating public with the help of public key generating pre-master key, and this pre-master key again encrypted by this public key and it is sent by client to server. See, now both have pre-master key. Pre-master key is just preparation for session key. So both have the same pre-master key. They do try to create session key. See, both have same session key. Both have same session key. Both have same pre-master key. And now each device have like session key. Now let's say trying client sending any data to server. So this is my plain data. I do apply this session key over data and now it's become encrypted. If it is showing the key or lock, it means data is encrypted. So now it send it to server and server have this encrypted data. See what server is doing. Server trying to apply the same session key over this data and it's become plain. It's actually unencrypted, plain data. So this is what we are trying to understand earlier, like SSL encryption and SSL negotiation. So guys, even if in between we are using firewall, so firewall cannot do understand the data, what exactly the data is going on. So it is all because encrypted. Those who don't know about the encryption or I'm saying encrypted, so encrypted cipher suits or and all. So encryption means simply hiding a data, scrambling of data, you can say. So scrambling of data means data is a kind of we are trying to send data in kind of format which only be understand by the next party, which basically negotiated with me or having a key. You can also say in a kind of coded form. Let's say I'm trying to send data ABC, which is plain data, but instead of ABC, if I'm saying I just encrypted it, so now it's become, let's say A is equal to 55, D is equal to 199, C is equal to double question mark. So how a person can identify like 55 is equal to A, 199 is equal to B, double question mark is equal to C in between. If someone capture my data, so person cannot predict. So when you do talk about data encryption, so encryption basically a kind of complex mathematical calculation. Whatever the database do send, when it do apply the encryption algorithm, so what exactly happen? It do change in some complex mathematical form that can be only decrypted with key. I hope now it's become easy to understand once I've explained this PPT. See, so here guys, I'm trying to do now SSL outbound process. So in order to perform SSL outbound process, I'm going to do use self sign key. See, for SSL process, we can perform SSL in decryption process. We can use two keys. A key which is signed by CA. CA means certificate authority. Or we can generate a key on firewall, and firewall sign on this key itself. So that's we call self sign key. When firewall sign on the key itself, so it's become your self sign key. In like real scenarios, we use public CA in order to perform this encryption process. So basically what it do, when we do use let's say when we do use self sign key, so it work like this. Earlier, like we just try to establish a session directly with client, but here now firewall will intercept our queries. So it work like this. First, when we do send any hello client packet, to server, it was like earlier we were doing directly, but when we do use self sign certificate on firewall, so first my query goes to firewall, firewall then intercept my query, and firewall send SSL query on the behalf of me to any website which is based on SSL or particular website which I'm trying to access. So firewall generate hello client on the behalf of me, and now server will respond to firewall. It's like firewall is doing proxy. Server will send server hello along with public key. With public key. Server hello with public key. So this public key received by this firewall. Now firewall will send the same packet which is server hello to client, but it does not send it the exact public key. It do use a it do perform some dynamic changes and in certificate, and it do sign on same public key and change the signer. It do sign on certificate by self sign and perform changes, and now send it to client. Means when server receive the when firewall receive the packet, when firewall receive the packet and public key, so public key it do modify, it do change it, And once it change means it do sign by the self-signed certificate or the installed certificate which we are using for decryption. The same certificate we'll use in order to sign on the certificate and send it back to the client. So client, those who know about this self-signed key or public CA certificate, they can only do understand that, and they can only do use SSL based websites. So means firewall, whatever the data we are sending from client to Palo Alto, that will first decrypted by firewall. Then again firewall have a key which it actually do exchange with server. Then it do again re-encrypt the data and send it back to server. Because here we are performing decryption and encryption, so firewall can easily do check data, and that is in plain form. Again, if anything which is coming from server, so first it do decrypt that data and check the content and again send it back in encrypted form. So this is we called SSL encryption process. See, I've already shared these documents. Outbound SSL TLS inspection process. So see, if you do use certificate on a firewall, so the request which generated by a client, it comes to here, hello client. Then the next packet, your firewall will do send it on server. Firewall to client, one session, client hello. And then in response to this, server will send server hello along with server public certificate to this firewall. And firewall will change this certificate. See, it is validating and creating a dynamic certificate which is very similar to server, and it makes sign on the certificate and send it back to the client. So after doing all these things, now firewall is capable to understand the data, or we can say firewall is able to understand, or firewall can do now encrypt and decrypt our data traffic, which earlier we were directly doing in between client and server. So the process you can check. Client sends client hello to server, includes SSL, supported SSL TLS version and cipher. Connection is intercepted, blocked by firewall. Firewall sends client hello to the server using cipher supported SSL TLS version in SSL policy. Server replies with the hello server, which includes the server certificate. The firewall validates certificate. If invalid, connection is terminated. The firewall generates a dynamic certificate. Wherever possible, the dynamic certificate is created with the same value as the server certificate. The dynamic certificate is signed by the root certificate configured in the security policy settings. Means so firewall will sign this on certificate, the configured certificate which we are using on firewall. Server hello is sent from firewall to client using dynamic certificate. The client trusts the root certificate of the firewall and connection is established. So there's 7 steps. Let's do it now. Then it's become easy. So first we have to configure the IP address. Let's say my IP, WAN IP is 124. Here I'm using. And LAN, we have 2 subnets here. For VLAN 10, होस्ट नेम आपने कॉन्फ़िगर कर दिया, and after then interface. So this is your WAN interface. Untrust zone. IP address is 192.168.101.124. That's my WAN IP. And here we are going to create two sub interfaces for VLAN 10 and 20, 1 by 2. LAN VLAN 10 and say okay. IP address .10.2.2.1. देखो आप यहाँ DSCP बना सकते हो. So you just have to come here on DSCP. So click on here and select Ethernet 1 by 2 pool 10.1.1.1.10 hyphen 10.1.1.100, let's say. An option here we can define gateway mask 255.255.0 and DNS. That's the first DSCP. And for VLAN 20 you can also create so this is for VLAN 20. Now come on here on virtual router, define one static default route to access internet. And after doing all configuration, we just have to create certificate. So guys, here we are going to use self-signed certificate. So click on here, certificate management, and select certificate and say generate. Now you can give any name. I'm saying SSL test certificate. I'm giving name, which is, let's say, abc.com. You can give any name. And if you are using an external authority, so you can select external authority. Otherwise, you can click on here, self-signed certificate, and say generate. Once you generate the certificate, click on here and say forward trusted and untrusted, then say okay. After doing all these things, you just have to come here and say security policy, allow policy for internet source, which is either coming from LAN or VLAN 1020. If it goes on untrust application any, so it should be allow. And for internet rule, we have to create NAD policy, original traffic when it is coming from LAN 1020, and say okay. Now say decryption policy. See, here we can create SSL decryption and encryption policy. This option. So I'm coming here and saying add decryption policy and say source. Say, let's say I'm saying when traffic comes from VLAN 10, as well I'm saying for VLAN 20, when it's going on destination zone, which is untrust zone, so traffic should be decrypted. And if you select type, which is SSL forward proxy, SSL outbound, so SSL forward proxy, so it means it is SSL outbound. If you select inbound, so that is for inbound. So here we have to select SSL forward proxy. Decryption profile, you can use the default one and say okay. Now commit. Now because we are using VLANs, so we just have to create trunk port 0 by 0 and 0 by 1 is VLAN part of 10, VLAN 20, 0 by 2. Now we done the VLAN part. Now you just have to log in here in each machine and check first internet connection. See, you got the IP address and try to ping it. Internet is working fine, but when we do try to access any website, see, it says your connection is not private because we are using decryption, SSL encryption decryption process, and it is asking about the certificate authority, and it says certificate invalid because every certificate is signed by this abc.com, and this certificate we do not have in our trust certificate directory. So here guys, we have to import the same certificate on each machine in order to establish trust. So let's say we have 100 users in a company, so it's become very tedious to install certificate on each machine individually. So we use normally Active Directory server to push all certificates from centralized location. But here, in order to test it, we just have to use our local machine. So what I'm going to do, I'm importing the certificate and I'm creating one exporting certificate, SSL certificate. Copy and creating one folder, test. When you do perform this practical, you can use your email, like you can keep it on email address. Now this is on my server machine, and now I can do access it directly. But when you guys do try to perform the same practical, you can do use, you just have to use email address first, and you can upload the same certificate on email, and here on local machine you can open your email and then you can do access the same. Here I'm directly accessing. So what is username? Okay, say copy and paste, and now install it. Install certificate, open local machine, next, yes. Place all certificate in the following stores, browse. See, here you have to place your certificate, trusted root certificate authorities. So okay, next, I'm finished. Once import was successful, so all websites which is having HTTPS you can access now. It do not give error. See, it's working fine, and now firewall can decrypt and encrypt your data. And if you do verify again, the same certificate is valid, like it will show you. Outlook.
सर वो अभी यूजर नेम पासवर्ड क्या डाला था आपने? पासवर्ड यूजर नेम तो शो हो गया था ना?
मैंने और भी कुछ चीज बोली उससे पहले। ये आपका इस तरीके से नहीं होगा, आपको मेल पे रखना है सर्टिफिकेट, ठीक है?
यस सर।
तो जब यहाँ बनाना सर्टिफिकेट इस मशीन पे, तो ये सर्टिफिकेट अपने मेल पे रख लेना, करेक्ट? जीमेल पे अपलोड कर लोगे और यहाँ पर आओगे, यहाँ पर भी जीमेल खोल लेना इस पॉलिसी को डिक्रिप्ट करके, नहीं तो खुलेगा ही नहीं।
ओके सर।
डिक्रिप्शन पॉलिसी डिसेबल कर लेना, ठीक है? ये देखो ये आ गया डिसेबल। जैसे डिसेबल करोगे तो फिर डिक्रिप्शन तो होगा नहीं, तो मांगेगा नहीं कुछ, तो वही सर्टिफिकेट आप अपनी मशीन में जहां जहां डिक्रिप्शन करके देखना, वहां डाउनलोड करके इंस्टॉल कर लेना, खत्म। या दूसरा मेथड क्या है, आपकी मशीन, आप इसको तो यहाँ इसका पासवर्ड आपको नहीं पता चल पाएगा। आप इस मशीन को ऑफ करो, यहाँ कनेक्ट कर दो डायरेक्ट मैनेजमेंट क्लाउड में, तो ये मशीन भी आपकी जो फिजिकल मशीन है वो मैनेजमेंट क्लाउड से कनेक्ट है। तो आप यहाँ पे एक क्या बना सकते हो, शेयर्ड फोल्डर, और उसको यहाँ पर आके एक्सेस कर सकते हो, तो भी एक्सेस हो जाएगा। बाकी यू कैन ट्राई विद ईमेल, अगर नहीं होगा तो बताना, आई विल हेल्प आउट। See here you can check certificate, the same certificate is now says valid because we can verify this certificate, sure we can verify, ट्रस्टेड सीए जो भी है हमारा उसको मैं वेरीफाई कर पा रहा हूँ। अब देखो यहाँ पर जितनी भी वेबसाइट आप एक्सेस कर रहे हो, फॉर ऑल वेबसाइट्स सीए जो आपको दिखा रहा है वो abc.com दिखा रहा है, बिकॉज यहाँ पर फायरवॉल पे सर्टिफिकेट क्या चल रहा है, abc.com, और जो भी आप वेबसाइट को एक्सेस करोगे उन सब के ऊपर साइन कौन कर दे रहा है, abc.com, करेक्ट, और नीचे इसको भेज रहा है। आ गया समझ में आपको कृष्णा, ये प्रोसेस पूरा
जी सर।
करके देखना, तब समझ में
हाँ
आ
सर,
जाएगा।
बिल्कुल सर।
सारा आपका ट्रैफिक इनक्रिप्ट डिक्रिप्ट हो रहा है। अब इसको सीएलआई में भी आप देख सकते हो, स्टार बन के आता है एक ट्रैफिक के ऊपर, जो भी आपका ट्रैफिक इनक्रिप्ट होगा और उसको डिक्रिप्ट कर रहा है फायरवॉल। सो सेशन ऑल, ये देखो सारे ट्रैफिक के ऊपर ऑलमोस्ट आपको स्टार दिख रहा है, एनएस स्टार। एन का मतलब होता है फ्लैग है ये, स्टार का मतलब होता है डिक्रिप्शन, एन का मतलब नेट, एस का मतलब सोर्स, एन डी लिख के आता है डेस्टिनेशन नेट के लिए बताता है वो, एनएस स्टार, एनएस स्टार। सो दिस स्टार शोइंग लाइक ट्रैफिक डिक्रिप्शन, कि ट्रैफिक इनक्रिप्ट डिक्रिप्ट हो रहा है। सेशन नंबर 118 अगर मैं देखूं, सो सेशन आईडी 118, तो ये देखो प्रॉक्सी इन्फो भी दिखाता है यहाँ पर, प्रॉक्सी जो कर रहा है। सो इट्स वेरी सिंपल, यहाँ पे कुछ भी खास नहीं, नेट पॉलिसी अप्लाई हो रही, ट्रैफिक आपका पूरा का पूरा विजिबल हो जा रहा है। अब ट्रैफिक विजिबिलिटी है तो आप कुछ भी और कर सकते हो, मतलब आप सारी चीजें अब इस पे चलाकर देख सकते हो, एप्लीकेशन ब्लॉक कर सकते हो, एप्लीकेशन अगर आपका कोई ब्लॉक होगा तो आपको मैसेज भी देगा। SSL डिक्रिप्शन पेज आउट, डिसेबल, इनेबल कर दिए। नो कमिट। तो ये प्रोसेस आपका पूरा किसका हो गया, SSL ऑफलाइन, SSL आउटबाउंड डिक्रिप्शन, लाइक डेटा ट्रैफिक इंक्रिप्शन आपका हो रहा है, बट आपका फायरवॉल एक तरीके से अब क्या बना रहा है, मैन इन द मिडिल का काम कर रहा है। जितना भी डेटा आपका क्लाइंट से जाएगा, क्लाइंट मशीन से फायरवॉल पे, फायरवॉल यहाँ क्या करेगा, इनक्रिप्टेड डेटा अगर आ रहा है कुछ तो उसको डिक्रिप्ट करेगा, डिक्रिप्ट करके चेक करेगा, फिर से री इनक्रिप्ट करेगा और यहाँ पे सर्वर के पास भेज देगा, पब्लिक सर्वर जो भी एक्सेस कर रहे हो। तो डेटा क्योंकि री इनक्रिप्ट डिक्रिप्ट यहीं पे हो रहा है, तो ये अब क्या कर सकता है, पूरा चेक कर सकता है, इंस्पेक्ट कर सकता है। तो बहुत सारी चीजें अगर आपके फायरवॉल को पता ही नहीं चल पाएंगी मलिशियस है या करेक्ट है, जब तक कि वो SSL नेगोशिएशन नहीं करेगा। तो SSL नेगोशिएशन इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट। कंपनीज के अंदर सभी में आपको ये मिलेगा SSL, अगर आप डीप इंस्पेक्शन करना चाहते हो, पूरा देखना चाहते हो क्या जा रहा है। अब देखो मैंने वहां से रिस्पॉन्स पेज सेट किया, तो अब यहाँ पे आपको मैसेज भी दे रहा है SSL inspection is going on. If you proceed this in accordance with the company policy, SSL encrypted traffic will initiated with temporarily decrypt. कह रहा है आपका जो encrypted traffic को decrypt किया जाएगा, को yes proceed करना है. तो अभी मैंने response page set नहीं किया था, इसलिए मैसेज नहीं आ रहा था. Now ये एक prompt भी देगा machines पे. See, response page में आकर मैंने ये set कर दिया SSL decryption opt. मतलब SSL decryption enable कर दो और आपसे permissions भी लेगा, opt करेगा और आपको पता भी चलेगा कि हाँ SSL हो रहा है. क्लाइंट को पता चल जाएगा अच्छा इस पेज के लिए हो रहा है. अगर मान लो आप बैंकिंग वेबसाइट को यूज कर रहे हो, जैसे ही आता है ये नो कर दो, क्योंकि उसमें कॉन्फिडेंशियल पासवर्ड और ये सारी चीजें जाती हैं. तो पालो अल्टो में ये चीज करेक्ट है कि क्लाइंट को भी पता चल जाएगा कि क्या हो रहा है. अगर आप यस करोगे तो देखो खुल जाएगा फेसबुक, अगर आप नो करोगे तो वो चलेगा नहीं. नेक्स्ट प्रोसेस जो हम देखने वाले हैं दैट इज एप्लीकेशन आईडी. ऐप आईडी क्या, देखो ऐप आईडी इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फीचर. पालो अल्टो फायरवॉल का फीचर है. कल मैं इसका फ्लो बताऊंगा ऐप आईडी का. आज एक बेसिक इंट्रोडक्शन देता हूँ. जो भी ट्रैफिक आपका नेटवर्क के थ्रू मतलब जा रहा है, हर एक वेल नोन ट्रैफिक जो भी आपका है उसके लिए इसके पास क्या सिग्नेचर्स है. उसको एक कैटेगरी में वो क्या करता है, मतलब आपको डिफाइन करके देता है कि अच्छा इस पोर्ट के रिस्पेक्ट में ये एप्लीकेशन जा रहा है. मान लो पोर्ट नंबर मैंने 8443 ओपन किया फेसबुक के लिए, तो फेसबुक ही जाएगा इसके ऊपर, इसकी क्या गारंटी है. तो हर एक एप्लीकेशन को रिकॉग्नाइज करता है उसके सिग्नेचर से. अगर सिग्नेचर उसका बोल रहा है कि फेसबुक का आपका ट्रैफिक खोल रहा है, फेसबुक सिग्नेचर से मैच हो गया, इसका मतलब फेसबुक का ही ट्रैफिक जा रहा है. तो एप्लीकेशन आईडी क्या है, एप्लीकेशन को रिकॉग्नाइज करने में बहुत हेल्पफुल है. तो अभी आपके पास अराउंड एक अपडेटेड फायरवॉल में 3300 के अराउंड सिग्नेचर्स मिलेंगे. हियर इट इज शोइंग अराउंड 2800. सो सिग्नेचर्स आप कस्टम सिग्नेचर्स भी बना सकते हो अपने ट्रैफिक को मैच करने के लिए. अदरवाइज आप क्या कर सकते हो, अपना नॉर्मल जो प्री डिफाइंड सिग्नेचर्स हैं उनको यूज कर सकते हो. जैसे मैं बोलूँ अभी फेसबुक, तो देखो फेसबुक चैट, फेसबुक बेस, फेसबुक कोडिंग, फाइल शेयरिंग, हर एक चीज के लिए इसके पास सिग्नेचर्स हैं. कंटेंट फिल्टरिंग में इसमें कर सकता हूँ. मैं चाहता हूँ कि मान लो फेसबुक चैट बंद हो जाए, फेसबुक बेस चलता रहे, ये सारी चीजें मैं इसमें परफॉर्म करके देख सकता हूँ इजीली. जैसे अभी मैं नॉर्मल लगाता हूँ, मैंने मान लो यहाँ पर एक पॉलिसी लगा दी फेसबुक ऑन यूट्यूब ब्लॉक करने की. एप्लीकेशन आईडी एप्स ब्लॉक, सोर्स जब भी लैंड से आए, चाहे वीलैन 1020 से आए मेरा ट्रैफिक, व्हेन इट गोज ऑन अनट्रस्ट एंड इट मैचेस, यहाँ से आप एप्लीकेशन मैच कराते हो. लेट्स से आई एम सेइंग फेसबुक एंड यूट्यूब. अब देखो आप इसमें हाई रिस्क एप्लीकेशन जो उनको भी ब्लॉक कर सकते हो. कैसे करोगे, फिल्टर, एप्लीकेशन फिल्टर पे बना सकते हो आप. मान लो आपने बनाया, आप मान लो रिस्क फैक्टर 5 सिलेक्ट करना चाहते हो. अब देखो मैंने यहाँ पे 5 पे क्लिक कर दिया सीधा. तो अब जितने भी रिस्क फैक्टर 5 के सिग्नेचर्स हैं वो सारे आपके सेलेक्ट हो गए. हाई रिस्क एप्लीकेशन जो है, मैं सारे हाई रिस्क एप्लीकेशन ब्लॉक करना चाहता हूँ. 148 एप्लीकेशन दिखा रहा है हाई रिस्क, जिनकी रेटिंग 5 है, जिनसे रिस्क हो सकता है आपके ऑर्गेनाइजेशन में. तो मैंने इसका नाम दे दिया क्या, रिस्क 5. तो अब ये डायनेमिक फिल्टर कर लेगा खुद ही, रिस्क लेवल 5. ओके, और ये मेरे पास एक एप्लीकेशन फिल्टर अवेलेबल हो गया रिस्क 5 का. अब यहां पर आओ, एप्स ब्लॉक के अंदर you can select this 5 filter 5. So it do filter like all signatures जिनमें रिस्क ज्यादा है, रिस्क 5 कैटेगरीज के हैं, तो एक बार में देखो फिल्टर हो गया। फेसबुक यूट्यूब तो करेगा ही, साथ साथ रिस्क 5 के एप्लीकेशंस भी इसने फिल्टर कर दिए। एंड नाउ इफ आई डू प्रेस लाइक हियर कमिट बटन, सो अब सारा का सारा ट्रैफिक क्या हो जाएगा, ब्लॉक। इससे आपका काफी सारा ट्रैफिक रुक भी जाएगा ऐप आईडी से, अगर आपको सही नहीं पता कैसे काम कर रहा है, जो कि मैं कल आपको बताऊंगा कि फायरवॉल को पोर्ट नंबर बेसिस पे भी चला सकते हो पालो अल्टो को, और नॉर्मल इस तरीके से भी चला सकते हो जैसे भी मैं चला रहा हूँ, एप्लीकेशन के बेसिस पे, ऐप आईडी सिग्नेचर्स के बेसिस पे। So we can use in both way. See configuration committed successfully. अब मैंने हाई रिस्क एप्लीकेशन सारे ब्लॉक कर दिए रिस्क लेवल 5 के। So come to here, let's try again the same application। जैसे फेसबुक ब्लॉक किया तो देखो मैसेज भी आएगा इस बारी, क्योंकि मैंने यहाँ पर रिस्पॉन्स पेज सेट किया हुआ है। व्हाट रिस्पॉन्स पेज वी सेट, एप्लीकेशन ब्लॉक पेज इनेबल, एक्शन इनेबल, मैसेज आएगा यूजर को, आना चाहिए, देखते हैं। सी आ रहा है फेसबुक ब्लॉक, यूजर का भी लॉग जनरेट कर रहा है 10.1.1 trying to access the Facebook and it is blocked। Access to the application you were trying to access has been blocked in accordance with company policy। Please contact your system administrator if you believe this is an error। Again say let's try to access Facebook instead of Facebook YouTube, so it says blocked। सेशन चेक करोगे, शो सेशन ऑल फिल्टर एप्लीकेशन स्टेट, या ऐसे ही मार लो फेसबुक बेस। व्हेन यू सेलेक्ट डिस्कार्ड, सो जो भी ट्रैफिक आपका डिस्कार्ड होगा वो दिखा देगा यहाँ पे, स्टेट डिस्कार्ड। तो आपका ये देखो यूट्यूब का है आई थिंक, आप पूरा ओपन करोगे तो दिखाएगा, मल्टीपल ऐप सेशंस बनाओ। तो यहाँ पे दिखाएगा डिस्कार्ड में जो भी सेशंस आएंगे।